Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 10, the opulence of the Absolute, verse number 6. Maharshayah saptapurve chatvaro manavastatha madbhava manasa jata yesham loka imaha prajaha. Word for word. Maharishaya, the great sages, sapta, 7, purve, before, satvaraha, 4, manavaha, manus, tatha, also, madbhavaha, born of me, manasaha, from the mind, jataha, born, yesham, of them, loke, in the world, imah, all this, prajaha, population. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. Purport. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them, 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, and the 14 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe. And each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Then from Brahma came Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar, then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And in this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapitamaha, the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I hope you all had a nice Janmashtami, and hope the austerity wasn't too much. And in fact, coming Tuesday is Radha Ashtami. It's the appearance day of Radharani, and it's recommended to fast till noon, like from midnight Monday till noon the next afternoon. So this chapter number 10, excuse me, which is the opulence of the Absolute. If you remember, the chapter started with Krishna telling Arjuna that because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I will speak further and give you knowledge that is better than what I've already told you so far. So right till chapter number 9, whatever he has said, he's going to give more knowledge to Arjuna. And then he says, even the demigods and great sages, they do not know my origin because I am the source of the demigods. And then there was a beautiful verse, a very, elaborate verse about intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, everything, forgiveness, truthfulness, everything Krishna says, these are all created by me alone. So that brings us to today's verse, which we have read, which is verse number 6, where he's elaborating to Arjuna First he said, okay, I am the source, but now he is specifying. So what is he saying? That what happens is first comes Brahma, then the four great sages. They are called the four Kumaras, and they are Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar. These are the four sons of Brahma. So after Brahma comes these four, and then comes Rudra, which is Lord Shiva, and then the seven sages. He's talking about the seven great sages that come after these four great sages, and these seven sages are Atri, Bhardwaj, Gautama, Jamatni, Kashyapa, Vasishtha, and Vishwamitra. These are the seven great sages. So what does he say? All these, and even the 14 Manus, he says they come from me. That means Krishna is the source of the demigods. He's the source of all living entities. And how do they come? He says they come from my mind, from Krishna's mind. And all the living beings, they are populating the various planets. They descend from these. Who these? Brahma, the four great sages, the seven sages, and the 14 Manus. Now we read in the purport very nicely, Prabhupada is explaining that there are innumerable universes, and in each universe, there are innumerable planets. And in each planet, there are innumerable varieties of living entities. So we can imagine what is our position, like in all this whole creation, what is our position? We are very insignificant. But unfortunately, we think we are very great. We are the best, I'm the best. I'm the best, that is a slogan. So here, Krishna is making us understand that we are nothing. We need to understand that he is the source of every living entities. And he's talking about all these 25 great sages, starting with Brahma, the four Kumaras, the seven great sages, and the 14 Manus. He's saying that they all of them, these are the 25 patriarchs. And Brahma, he underwent penance 1000 demigod years. He underwent penance. So when he performed that austerity, then Krishna appeared and gave him the knowledge. And by the mercy of Krishna, Brahma was able to create. He was given that responsibility to create. So that is how, and it's very clear that only by the grace of Krishna, he was able to create. Because when Krishna asked Brahma to create, he asked, how? How do I do that? So Krishna said, by my mercy, when I give you this knowledge, with my grace, you will be able to create. So let's go to verse number 7. Krishna says, one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. Now he's talking about convinced. How do we get convinced? Like supposing we want to convince someone about something. How do we do that? By communicating, right? By explaining, by giving knowledge, right? If I want someone to become my business partner, I need to convince that person to invest and be my business partner. How do I do that? I have to do my own research. I have to have knowledge so that I can explain it. I can give the knowledge about the business so that the interest develops in that other person and the person starts contemplating, should I or should I not? So here, Krishna is making it very clear, unless one is convinced of my opulences and my mystic power. So unless one is convinced, one will not engage in unalloyed devotional service. So there's a huge difference between devotional service and unalloyed devotional service. Devotional services, in the beginning, we do certain, devotional activities because we are asked to do it. Like, I say, please chant or please read or please hear or whatever. So we do that because we think that, yes, it is for my good, right? So we do that, that's devotional service, but it is mixed, right? It is mixed with our material desires. It is mixed with our material goals. It's like it's alloyed. But here Krishna is talking about unalloyed devotional service. And then he says, of this, there is no doubt. That means it's confirmed. So now the point is, how do we get convinced? Now, before that, we make a choice. Do I want to perform devotional service, or do I want to perform unalloyed devotional service, which has no mixture? Mixture in the sense, there's no mixture of jnana, karma, nothing, no mixture at all. It is completely pure. It's unalloyed. So once we decide, yes, I want to perform unalloyed devotional service, then the next step would be to become factually convinced of Krishna's opulence and mystic power. And that becomes possible when we hear more and more about Krishna from devotees, not just anybody. We hear from spiritually inclined people so that we get the gist of the knowledge that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Then, when we get convinced, how do we know we are convinced? You see, that's another question. How do we know? Our mind may say, yeah, don't worry. I am completely convinced. Don't worry at all. I am factually convinced. But maybe the mind is cheating us. How do we know if we are factually convinced? We will know from the practicals that we do. If we are interested in, more interested in Bhagavad Gita, if we are more interested in practicing what is given in Bhagavad Gita, then one can understand that yes, one is factually, gradually getting convinced about Lord Krishna and his opulences. See, people say God is great. Good. But people stop there. They don't go further to see how great is he. And that is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. With the opulence of the absolute, with, of course, in next chapter, Krishna will give the practical demonstration of how great he is, so that we can somehow or the other get attracted to Krishna. So that is what it is. In fact, in chapter 15, Krishna says, Vedescha sarver aham eva vedayo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. What does that mean? He says that the purpose, he says, I am the one who gives the Vedas. I am the one, and from the Vedas, I am to be known. So the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna, to understand Krishna. And to understand Krishna, the details of his greatness is important. So if we really want to, perform unalloyed devotional service, then we need to understand what the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. And when we start understanding it, then the surrender will come naturally. And of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the demigods, they are actually in charge. They are in charge. Like, for instance, Brahma was instructed by Krishna to create. Lord Shiva has been given the responsibility of destruction. Lord Vishnu is the one who maintains. So just like Indra, Lord Indra, he's in charge of rain. Sun god, he's in charge of the sunlight. So each and every demigod has is in charge, and of course they are all born of Krishna. In fact, in the verse we read today in the purport, Prabhupada explains in the purport that Brahma is called Pitama, but Krishna is called Prapitama, means he is the father of the grandfather, which means he's the great grandfather. He is the original forefather. From him, everyone comes. So once we take on the knowledge, it helps us to make our faith very firm. Then there is no more doubt, because here Krishna is saying, of this, there is no doubt. So for us to come to that stage where there is no more doubt, we need to practice devotional service on a day-to-day basis, every day. Just like we eat every day, we sleep every day, we work every day, we shower every day. So also, even spirituality needs to be practiced on a daily basis. And of course, not on blind faith. It's not that we are following someone. No. If we have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna, then from that sincerity, our faith starts becoming more and more firm. Now, verse 8 through 11. These four verses is called the Chatur Shloki. Chatur means four, Shloki means verse. Four verses of the Bhagavad Gita that somehow or the other summarize the whole Bhagavad Gita. So the very first Chatur Shloki is number 8, where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. What is the translation? I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. You see, it's not very easy to understand this. You see, here very clearly he's saying, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. That means he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything emanates from him. But he's saying the wise. Wise means wisdom, right? And how does one become wise? So knowledge, when practiced, becomes wisdom. So he's saying the wise, that means those who have taken on the knowledge and those who are putting it into practice, they perfectly know, and they are the ones who engage in Krishna's devotional service and worship Krishna with all their hearts. You see? So it's not easy to understand this, so one needs to study the Vedas perfectly. Yes, studying means also application. When there is application of what we are hearing, then one starts becoming firmly fixed in devotional service. Then there is no deviation. Then it becomes unalloyed devotional service. Now, the scriptures, they agree that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And I have many times mentioned, the different verses from different scriptures, like Brahma Samhita, it says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigra Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Srimad Bhagavatam says, Etecham Sakalapamsa Krishnastu Swayam Bhagwan. Krishna, you yourself are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the scriptures, they agree that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and that he is the source of demigods. Even the Upanishads, if you read the purport of this verse number 8, it says, all Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, what does it say? It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, the Narayana Upanishad says, then the Supreme Personality Narayana desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, from Narayana, Brahma is born, and from Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. You see, there it is not just a random knowledge, but here it is Prabhupada is quoting from the Puranas and the Upanishads, which clearly state that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, he is the source, Aham. Krishna is the source. That is the summary. No one is equal to him. No one is above him. He is the only controller. He is the only enjoyer. So when one understands the Bhagavad Gita and applies it and follows it with determination and with firmness, then there is success. So that is very, very important. So what do we learn from this very first Chatur Shloki, the first verse of these 4 verses? That Krishna is the source of all living entities, including the demigods. Now verse number 9, Mat Chitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam. Beautiful verse. What does it say? The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. You see? First of all, the thoughts. That means the thinking, that the thoughts of Krishna, right? The thinking. And then second is their lives. So first is the thought, then their lives. What are their lives? They are devoted to Krishna, to Krishna's service. You see? And he's talking about enlightening one another and conversing about me. What is that? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So, this itself tells us, why do devotees like to converse about Krishna? Why do they talk to each other about Krishna? Because it gives them great satisfaction. It gives them bliss, right? Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They feel happy talking about Krishna, talking about his greatness, and also enlightening one another. You know, I had heard a long time ago, one of my friends who's practicing Bhagavad Gita, she told me that when we hear a lecture, then if somehow or the other we can discuss what we heard with three people, just three people, if we can discuss what we heard, then what happens, that starts the process, the thought process, and then whatever we have heard, it starts settling in our heart. We start to somehow or the other absorb it. But if we don't discuss it with someone, then what happens is just hearing, and then from the other ear, it's gone out, you know. Then we wait for the next Wednesday, we hear something, and then it's gone again. It doesn't stay. Why? Because there's no conversation about, there's no conversing. So here Krishna is saying that my devotees, they get great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Now, in every temple, Krishna temple, Hare Krishna temple, there is a Srimad Bhagavatam class in the mornings. And after the Bhagavatam class is over, there is a question answer session. Why is that question answer session? So that the mind, you know, is engaged in more Krishna katha and in more talking more about Krishna, so that the mind is engaged. So engaging the mind and the senses in talking about Krishna is very important. Why? Because the mind, it needs engagement. What is that an important phrase? Idle mind is devil's workshop, right? Idle mind. So idle mind means there's nothing important to think about. So it's just random thinking, like, you know, like there is no goal in life. There is nothing, you know, to look forward. There's this, it's just randomly living. No. So engaging the mind is very, very important. If we don't engage the mind in the right way, then mind can possibly stop us from going on the spiritual path. It's very, very important to engage the mind. Once there was a man, he was all the time praying to God, you know, like, I want this and I want that, and you know, I am not happy, you know, I need this and I need that, you should give me this and that. So one day, somehow the other, he, you know, this is just a story to give you a moral later on. So one day he, you know, he went to the a store, you know, one store, and he saw that there was an old lamp, and he bought that. And then, you know, what happens when you rub the lamp? Out comes a genie. So the genie came out, and the genie said, okay, come on, you have to give me something to do. And so he said, so what do you mean? You can do anything? He said, yeah, I can do anything you want. He said, oh, okay, I want 10 factories, you know, build me 10 factories. And within a split second, 10 factories were ready. Genie said, okay, come on, something more. Give me some more engagement. So he said, oh, now what should I do? Oh, so I want 10 hotels. Boom, 10 hotels in his name. Like one after the other, in split second, all his wishes were being fulfilled. I want a pot of gold, and I want this, and I want that. Everything was being provided in split second. And the genie told this man that you have to keep me engaged. If you don't, then you will lose everything that you've got so far. Now this man really got scared. He said, okay, give me 5 minutes. He rushed to his, there was a great saint, living nearby. He rushed to him and he said that, oh, this is my problem. What should I do? Please help me. I don't want to lose all this great wealth that I've got, in a split second. And please. So he said, it's very simple. You want to keep the genie engaged? No problem. He gave him the solution. So he came running back. Genie said, oh, you're almost over your 5 minute limit. He said, okay, I want you to do something. Yes, yes, give me some work. So he put a bamboo there. And in that bamboo, he told the genie, you go up and down, go on doing that till I tell you to stop. And the genie said, okay. So genie had no option. It wasn't that you create a bamboo or, nothing. Just keep going up and down. And this is how he controlled the genie. Then he was able to keep all his wealth, and the genie kept going up and down without bothering him. What do we learn from this? That is how the mind is. The mind says, I want that. I want to go here. I want to eat this and this. So mind is just pulling us in all different directions, but we need to control it. How do we control it? Put a bamboo, not literally put a bamboo, but make the genie go up and down. That means engage the mind. Keep chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Keep going up and down. So this is how we engage our mind. So once the mind gets engaged, then automatically the senses also get engaged. So here, Krishna is talking about devotees enlightening one another. What is that discussion? It's nothing about except Krishna. The discussion, the topic, the pastimes, everything is about Krishna. Why? Because he is the Supreme Lord. It's the highest perfectional stage of life. And that is what gives the devotees a higher taste, right? And they give up the lower taste. And that is what happens with the mind. When we give a higher engagement to the mind, then the mind automatically gives up the lower level of engagement. So here in Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us that the simple process is by engaging the mind in sound vibration. When we hear the chanting, the sound vibration is very powerful because it helps us to purify our mind, our heart, our senses. Everything becomes pure. Right? Rupa Goswami explains, Adau Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivriti, right? When we all have faith, that's why we are here today listening to Bhagavad Gita. If we didn't have faith, we would not be here. So now we need to nourish that faith. How do we do that? We have to nourish it in such a way in association of devotees so that we can come to the highest stage, which is love for Krishna, that love for Krishna. And it starts by hearing Shravanam, right? And then comes chanting. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that we need to chant so that we can water the seed of devotion. Because unless we water the seed of devotion, the seed is not going to fructify and it's not going to bear fruits and flowers and it's not going to develop into love for Krishna. If there is no watering, then the seed is going to dry up. So that watering process is of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Let's go to next verse number 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. You see, he's saying, I give them the understanding, which means we are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. His mercy is very important. And he's making it very clear. He doesn't give the mercy, like inamina mainamo, oh, you get mercy. No. He's very, very specific. He says only to those who are constantly, not once a week, twice a week, or no. He's saying constantly devoted to serving me with love. You see? So that is a requirement. Material knowledge cannot help us in this. Only the spiritual knowledge is the key. So he's saying that if we really want to understand him, if that is our goal, to understand Krishna, we need his mercy. And we can get his mercy only when we constantly devote ourselves in serving him with love. Now, what service is he asking us to do? Right? He has everything. The Lord doesn't need anything at all. Everything belongs to him, everything comes from him. So, what kind of service does he want, right? He is asking for service for our benefit, because when we engage our mind and senses in his service, following the instructions given in the Bhagavad Gita, then we will be the ones who will benefit, because we will be purified. The purification will take place, right? Satatam kirtayanto mam, always chanting my glories. This is what he is explaining in Bhagavad Gita, because when we engage in devotional service of Supreme Lord with love, then what will happen gradually from within our heart, we will get realization. See, the purpose of human life is self-realization. It's not eat, sleep, mate, and defend. No, even the animals do that. We want to do something beyond that. So unless he's not talking about material intelligence. We may be very highly qualified materially, but that cannot help us to understand Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita. No, he's talking about spiritual understanding, right? So that understanding, Krishna says he will give to us. You see, that's called Buddhi Yoga. Even Krishna consciousness is nothing but Buddhi Yoga. That's the highest intelligence, right? Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and we need to connect with him. And Buddhi, which is intelligence. With the help of intelligence, we can connect with the Supreme Lord. Right? That is what yoga means. Yoga means connecting. But here when he says constantly devoted to serving me with love, that means being fully conscious of the Supreme Lord. Unless we come to that stage of full Krishna consciousness, we will not be qualified to go back to the spiritual world. But Bhakti Yoga, which is given in the Bhagavad Gita, which is also Buddhi Yoga, which is also Krishna consciousness, the purpose is so that we can break the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. And for that, we need to associate with devotees. When we associate with devotees, when we associate with a bona fide spiritual master, which is very, very important, because the guru helps us, guides us, explains to us in a very simple way, connects with us, and shows us the path by which we can reach our goal in life. Of course, we need to set that goal. What is my goal? Maybe for some, the goal is to become the CEO of the company. Maybe for someone, the goal is, to become a millionaire. Maybe for someone, the goal is to become self-realized, right? So we need to set the goal, but we need to, once we set the goal, then we need to work towards it. In fact, chapter 3 and chapter 5, which is Karma Yoga and Karma Yoga action in Krishna consciousness, Krishna talked very clearly about, different forms of karma. And he made it clear to Arjuna that you need to perform a karma. A karma means you perform your activities according to the scriptures, but you do not desire to enjoy the fruits of your activities. You offer the fruits to the Supreme Lord. That is Bhakti Yoga. Then there is progress, and progress is necessary. Just like even in our material jobs, we want to progress. We want what you call promotion. We want, increment. We want, a bonus or whatever it may be. We want appreciation. So when we want material progress, then why not spiritual progress also? And here, what is the qualification Krishna is saying is constantly devoted to serving him with love. And he will be pleased. We can show our service with love is by following the instructions given in Bhagavad Gita. And once Krishna sees our sincere endeavor, then he will bless us so that we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll take today's last verse, which is the last verse of the Chatur Shloki, the 4 verses of Bhagavad Gita. where he says, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. You see, he's talking about special mercy. Special mercy comes for special people, right? Special devotees. Now he's saying that special mercy will come when he sees that, yes, as I just mentioned, sincerely endeavoring to follow the Bhagavad Gita. And what is that special mercy? When he will shower his special mercy, then the result will be that the darkness of ignorance which is there within our hearts, that will be completely removed. How? With the light of knowledge. So this is one of the things that attracted my husband and I to Bhagavad Gita, that it is not blind faith. It is all based on knowledge, but bona fide knowledge. So he's saying with the light of knowledge, he will remove the darkness of ignorance. Knowledge is very important. In fact, knowledge is a basis for everything that we do on a daily basis, right? Whether it is, looking for admission for our children in school or colleges or jobs, business, anything you take, even extracurricular activities or sports or whatever it may be, we are always basing it on knowledge. So knowledge is very, very important. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, he was actually one time chanting in Banaras in India, and a very learned scholar, derided him. He was a Mayavadi, impersonalist, and he says, he believed in merging in the Supreme Lord. He did not believe in the form of God, and he would say that, he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you're just a sentimentalist, like you just no. Krishna very clearly says that Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, he has a form, the form which is full of knowledge, eternity, and bliss. He has a form, like a man is made in the image of God. So if man has a form, God obviously has to have a form, right? So here, Bhagavad Gita is very, very, very clearly stating to us, giving us knowledge about 5 subject matters. Who is God? Who are we? The spirit soul, karma, material nature, and eternal time, right? So here, when Krishna is throughout the 18 chapters, he is touching upon these 5 subject matters, but he is, while we are studying Bhagavad Gita, he's seeing our sincerity. When he sees our sincerity and seriousness in learning Bhagavad Gita, then he helps from within. Then one is able to, start becoming gradually conscious of the Supreme Lord. We may not have enough knowledge, like it's not possible to have all the knowledge of the world. No, it's not possible. That only God can have. But here, if even though, we may not have enough knowledge, but if just that sincerity is there, then Krishna helps from within. So no one can, of course, understand Krishna by speculation, own ideas and thoughts and theories with no devotion. No, it's not possible to understand, because Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is the Supreme Lord. So by speculating, oh, in my opinion, I think this is God, or this is what I feel, and, no. It has to be based on bona fide scriptures, the Vedas. The Vedas, the summary of the Vedas is Srimad Bhagavatam, and the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam is the Bhagavad Gita. So only by devotional service, Krishna says, constantly devoted to my service with love. So only by devotional service we can please the Supreme Lord, so that he can reveal himself in our heart. And when Krishna is realized in the heart, then there is no more darkness, there's no more ignorance. This is the special mercy of Krishna. He removes the darkness, he brings in the light of knowledge, and the heart, which is covered up by contamination, with so much material dust in it, with so many unwanted things in the heart, that all starts to, completely get cleansed out, and the dirt is removed, and then one is able to become self-realized. One can really understand who I really am. So purification is the goal, right? So what did we learn before in a few verses before? He says, Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham. What does that mean? He preserves what we have and he provides what we lack. So we don't need to worry, right? We just need to have that sincere prayer to the Supreme Law that, yes, I really want to know you. I really want to study Bhagavad Gita. I really want to engage in pure devotional service. And then what will happen? Then one becomes free of contamination. So I'm going to stop here till verse number 11, the Chatushloki, and if anyone has any questions.